Welcome back. You're watching Storyboard's coverage of the Cannes Lions. For Mondelez International's marketing and media division, startups and millennials are key to unlocking the potential of digital. I spoke to Bonenbo here to find out about his pet project, Mobile Futures, delivering real-time consumer experiences and wearable technology. Mondelez has been doing a lot of work with millennials.
Of course.
Whether it's Mobile Futures, whether it's working with startups. What is the aim of that, firstly, and how has that worked out for the company?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, thank you for having me again, and it's always a pleasure to be here. So I think the biggest thing for us is how do we begin to create a platform where we can operationalize the identification of technologies that are potentially going to change the way we engage with consumers. And so Mobile Futures 3 years ago was the beginning of really operationalizing that platform, and now we've rolled it out across a number of markets. We have our second class in the US called Shopper Futures. And I think more importantly is, it's allowed us to identify technology, but more importantly, it's changed the way our culture operates. Okay. And so we talked a little bit about this, I think, the last time, which is how do you impact the culture of large organizations? And so I think the single fact that we have our brand not only launch pilots with the startups, but we have our people actually go and work for the startups for a week, allows them to understand the way new organizations operate, think differently, and I'll tell you, every single one, when they all come back from that 1 week immersion, they all say the same thing to me. They say, Bonin, should we go and work for a startup? And I say, you should definitely not go work for a startup, because if you do, I'll get fired. But so we need to focus. But what we should do is you should think about how do you unleash that same type of thinking across big brands and across big resources. And so what we've seen is all the alumni, the plans that come back from all the alumni are some of the more forward-thinking plans that we have, in our organization. So it's been hugely successful for us.
Okay. I remember last time we spoke a lot about mobiles and smartphones, but today I think there's a lot of talk of wearables. So is that a shift that you're seeing as well in your conversations? And what is the kind of work that Mondelez is then doing with wearables?
I think that, first of all, I still don't think we've won the mobile game. Okay. I think that in many of our markets where we're going to see growth, and at the end of the day, we're laser focused on growth, it is mobile first markets.
Like India?
Like India, exactly. And we launched our feature phone accelerator with Facebook. We're learning how to continuously do great creative and deliver great programs, or even the work that we're doing in India specifically with our callback programs. So I still think there's a lot of work to do in mobile, so I don't think we can kind of take our eye off of that focus. But I think even, and in fact, when you look at countries like China, as we move into e-commerce, so one of the roles since the last time we met, one of the responsibilities that I picked up is growing our global e-commerce business. And when we look at platforms like China, the majority of purchases on platforms like Alibaba are made from tier 4 and tier 5 cities, and 80% of those are made on mobile phone. So that is the device that the world will operate on. So we can't take our eye off there. On the flip side, wearables. So I think it's a combination of wearables and connected devices, and you've seen us begin to explore what a world of connected food looks like. And so things like the Oreo 3D printer is an example of that. What happens when you can actually taste a tweet, an experience that's actually connected? But I think the most important will be, how do we begin to deliver services around wearables? So how do we begin to deliver, so Belvita, which is our breakfast, one of our biscuits platform that targets people during the morning, how do we begin to deliver services? So why are we not the single most important morning information service across any wearable device? So I think that's where we have to play, which is what are the services that we can create around the wearable universe? Okay.
We're talking so much about technology. Does that kind of conversation overshadow the conversation around that one big idea, that drove traditional advertising? I mean, of course it's adapted itself, but are we losing sight of the big idea in the midst of all this technology?
We can never lose sight of the pace of technology.
Okay, yes.
Just to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, the world is changing, and the challenge is that consumers are moving as fast as technology is. So, when you look and you walk down the street and you look at the Palais, and in the front you see the big Snapchat banner, it's just speaking to where consumers' attention is right now. And we have to focus on where attention is, not where we want attention to be. Attention happens to be there. either. Having said that, the big idea is more important than ever.
Okay.
But I think what we're seeing is a renaissance, a creative renaissance like we've never seen before. So a chance for us to paint on more campuses than ever before, for us to create disruption and engagement in ways that we never have before. Does that mean we have to move outside of a 15 and 30-second spot? Does that mean that we have to challenge ourselves to be more creative than ever before? Of course. But we have not lost the core big idea. And I think that that's the difference that we're seeing. So our partnership with Facebook that was announced really focused on fearless creative. There are some common principles that had created big ideas over the last 50, 100 years of how you communicate with consumers, how you connect with consumers on an emotional level. And we can't lose that because the platforms are changing. And we need to even more figure out what are the new principles inside that platform. So when you look at Facebook from a video perspective, you know what? The first 3 seconds are the most important. We've never had to create for the first 3 seconds. We also have never had to create for a video medium that doesn't have sound. So with autoplay, it has no sound. So how do we begin to think different? But that's a new creative challenge. To me, that's exciting. Again, it's this renaissance of creativity in these canvases that are unpainted. And so I see a world where the future of creativity and the big idea is brighter than ever.
Okay. You know, I remember last time we spoke about the Super Bowl campaign that Oreos, which, you know, the tweet in the dark, I think that's what it's called.
Dunk in the dark.
Yeah, and Dunk in the Dark, sorry. And you said that, you know, you spent a lot of money obviously in Super Bowl advertising on television, and the social media feed and the Twitter activation just took it to another level. Given that you are now looking to get all the media to work together, how difficult is it to decide media mix and measure it and then allocate budgets, and also with people, because they're all used to working in silos?
Yeah. So, you know, one of the things that we've done, I think, so look, many organizations have a challenge between the traditional and the digital. I feel very lucky that our organization saw a world where every single piece of media is a connected piece of media. Every single piece of media is digital. I'm digital at my core. I was born digital. I don't really have you know, a preference towards either, to be perfectly honest with you. What I want to do is connect with the consumer where they are in the most effective way. And that's what we've done. Over the last 3 years, we've been on a march to not just change our mix, but to change the way we plan, change the way we think about connecting with consumers. And so the launching of Connections Planning, which is really our new planning platform, has dramatically changed you know, the way that we look at surrounding the consumer. And so we start off with understanding the consumer journey. We start off with understanding the consumption behavior patterns of media for that specific consumer, and then we planned around it. And I think what's more important is it's not really about mix necessarily, although our changing of our mix has dramatically increased our top and bottom line. But it's more about how do you connect all of the dots. So how do I see a TV commercial and that drives me to mobile? How does that mobile then connect me to POS? How does that buying of the product allow me to scan it and then connect and share with my friends? Like, that's what you want. You want no waste, no waste. So you want to create and plan an entire ecosystem of connected media around the consumer. And so that's what we've done. So I would argue, and then on the measurement side, you know, we've been very specific. Okay, we know there's challenges, because look, this is new. A lot of this stuff is brand new. We know there's challenges around measuring specific types of media. So what are the big pieces of media? How do we focus on learning Facebook? How do we focus on learning digital video? How do we focus on learning mobile? You know, and so that's what we focus on. And we're seeing, you know, continual impact. In fact, what we're seeing is that our mix has to change dramatically because consumers' attention has changed so much. 24% of media is consumed on a mobile device, but an industry average less than 1% of spending is happening there. And so that mismatch is where we're going after, where we see the opportunity, and we've seen dramatic results.
You know, you also said in one of your interviews that real time is not about just, you know, being real time on Facebook, but creating real time experiences for consumers like you did in the 3D Oreo cookie. So could you tell me more about that and what is Mondelez doing to ensure that?
So, you know, real time, to your point, I don't believe it's about just Facebook posts. I believe it's about changing organizations to operate in real time, to respond to consumer demands as they happen. And so what's exciting, and the reason why I agreed to take on e-commerce, was because that's a world where we're actually seeing consumer consumption, buying behaviors happening in real time. So the ability to sit in a tier 5 city in China and order a product on my mobile phone and have it delivered to me same day or next day, that's real time. How do we begin to predict this? How do we begin to build that category growth? How do we begin to change the way that people think about impulse? So the large majority of our products operate in an impulse marketplace. How do we create the new, you know, the new concept around impulse, which means that we're going to have to change our organization, our structure, our supply chain. We have the opportunity to change insights, to change product development, to have those happening in real time. And so to me, that's exciting. And even more than that, I think it unlocks greater value. So it unlocks value because we're delivering convenience. convenience, we're delivering what the consumer expects, and we're delivering it at the moment that they want it. And I think we'll see greater value, and that'll drive to the growth of our organization.
In all of this, is loyalty becoming a difficult frontier? Because a lot of people believe that that may be a big challenge when it comes to targeting millennials.
I think millennials are more loyal than ever, you know, to be honest with you. But I think they're loyal to the products that are loyal to them.
Okay.
And so, you know, you see the rise of subscription services. That's nothing new. That's just like Wine of the Month Club, right?
Okay.
But the difference is that they're tailoring offerings based on what I know. Consumers, they understand that you have data on them. They want you to know them. Don't just treat me like everybody else. The power to be known, that's what makes Facebook so amazing as a platform, is that every day it's created anew. Every single day, people use their hands to recreate this media platform that we call Facebook. And the ability, they know the consumer on such not digital in general, you know the consumer on such a different level. The ability to be known, the power of knowing somebody is so much greater, and that's what they want. They want to be loyal to brands and organizations that know them.
Okay. And your biggest learning from the Cannes Lions this year?
Snapchat buys really big banners.
That would be my biggest learning as well.
My biggest learning is that we have this melding. You know, I worry, and I put this out there, I want to make sure that, you know, today is vastly different than the last 4 days.
Yeah.
And one might argue that the awards tonight are more traditional than they are.
Yeah.
And so
Film and titanium.
And so I worry, are we continuing to create a bifurcation in the industry, which puts digital here, and so I just worry that we have to make sure that that's that melding, because again, I believe we have a new canvas that we can paint on, and we need to bring big ideas onto those platforms. So that's mine.
Some great insights there from those shaping the future of this business. With that, we've come to the end of the show today, but our Cannes coverage doesn't stop here. Remember, you can catch all the content that you've missed on Facebook, Twitter, and of course YouTube. Also, stay tuned for some exclusive conversations with the biggest names in the world of advertising, marketing, and media. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.